Ladies and gentlemen, we just recently had the announcement of the Jam Slam tournament, which means we have a bunch of new people entering into the world of Street Fighter 6. So the coaches have been announced. I'm one of the coaches along with Shine, Diaphone, Automatic, JB, and Nephew. And here are the players from all different corners of the Twitch and YouTube content verse. Many of these players have previously played Street Fighter or Tekken or have experience playing Street Fighter, but there's also many players who are brand new to Street Fighter and trying to learn new things, which means we get to see the struggles that we all share, that we all go through when learning Street Fighter. And it's a very relatable experience and often shows off common things that we all go through, including this clip with Speed Kicks here. Speed Kicks here. He's very wise. This clip is spawning more think pieces than you'd expect. Correct. I am going to give my think piece on this clip because Speed Kicks here is training with VDX. VDX, fellow content creator, very really high level Tekken player, doing it big on YouTube, and he's probably the best or one of the best Tekken content creators for coaching and giving advice and teaching new players. And so he's going through the process of learning Street Fighter for this event. And Speed Kicks is an extremely high level Tekken, but also Street Fighter player. If you don't know, in the beginning of Street Fighter 6, Speed Kicks was one of the best players in NA with Jury. So here he is practicing with VDX. And at first, I thought they were just doing some drills, and I was like, wow, VDX here with Cammy. He really has some crosscuts. He has better crosscuts than I do. So I figured they're just doing a little bit of drills here, where VDX is just practicing his crosscuts, and Speed Kicks is kind of teeing up the ball here for the crosscuts. And I was like, wow, VDX is really picking up this Street Fighter thing. This is pretty good. Pretty good. He's pretty much nailing all of these at the right angle. And it wasn't until this point that I realized, wait, they're not doing drills, they're playing a real game. That's when it clicked. And yeah. VDX had to take a moment to himself after that one. After anti-airing successfully like 13 or 15 times, I lost count here. Of course, it all comes down to him missing the final DP, which would actually secure the win. You know, he got punished for pressing a stand MK right there. With the button, ate the jump in, and Speed Kicks converted the full combo into the CA to cash out and kill. So all that work was for nothing. What was the point in all the DPs? What was the point in playing solid neutral, proper Street Fighter when this filthy degenerate bunny hopping jury player Speed Kicks here can still get the round after all of that? Well, that is the discussion, of course, that jumping is too strong in Street Fighter 6. And this discussion is as old as time, because listen, what's the point in anti-airing if they're just going to jump in and kill you? It's reminiscent to me of this ancient post here. What's the point of attacking if they can just parry? What's the point of living if we were all just going to die? These are philosophical questions that we go through as fighting game players forever, right? I think this one, I love this quote for Third Strike, but it's not exactly the same situation here with Street Fighter 6, but there's a bit of that mentality here, right? Like, what's the point in anti-airing if they're just going to jump in and do more damage regardless? Why even go through it? And this has been a discussion for a long time in Street Fighter 6. Chico here back in June. The more I play Street Fighter 6, the more I realize how little value DP anti-airs have in this game. If you succeed, that's around 1,000 damage. If you don't succeed, that's around 3,000 damage minimum for every character. And even before Street Fighter 6, back in Street Fighter 5, here's Vesper Arcade, Street Fighter 5, anti-airs are too weak. Season 4 discussion back in 2018. All the way back in Street Fighter 5, people were having this debate about anti-airs being too weak. And you know what? If you go back even further to 2016, light jabs as an anti-air, 2016 of April, I find this to be infuriating. No need to use dedicated anti-air move, just mash out that standing light punch and you can stop anyone in the air. Anti-air is too strong. Listen, it feels like for the past 10 years, anti-airs have either been too good or too strong, and they're never correct. It's never the proper thing to do, or they're never balanced correctly. The risk reward is always off with anti-airs and jumps in the modern era of Street Fighter. And I don't personally find that to be true. I'm not here to downplay that jumping isn't strong. It obviously has its place. Let's take a look here at a recent high-stakes match between Noah the Prodigy versus Itabashi Zangief. I think Noah represents this high-octane offensive style in Street Fighter 6 better than anyone else on the planet, utilizing constant jump pressure in order to keep the opponent on their toes here. And it ends in a pretty dramatic fashion. And I mean, if you know this match, you kind of know the spoiler. Final round between these two opponents. Noah burns himself out to get him into the drive rush overhead to throw pressure. Has him in the corner. Anti-air control. And the jump in. The jump in seals the deal, gets the set. And it's not just the jump in. If you actually slow this one down and take a look at exactly what happened. After Noah, with his anti-air DP, mind you, maintains corner control and pressure because of his anti-air DP, goes to the corner, jumps in, and here you can see Itabashi Zangief. If I were to actually get rid of my cam here from being in the way, you can see the startup of OD Lariat right there, right before it meets its unfortunate demise to the jump heavy punch from Luke. And I think that's actually because he did the Lariat a little bit too soon. So it ran out of air invincibility. If he had timed it a little bit later, I believe it would have beat the jump heavy punch. But Luke jump heavy punch is an example of, you know, an extremely strong jump in this game. So, you know, jumps definitely have their place, and depending on the characters and their specific jump ins and the matchup, they're very powerful. But does that make anti-air DPs useless or weak? No, absolutely not. I mean, just an example, leading into the sequence, what happened? Noah anti-aired with a DP, the Zangief jump in. And, you know, you can get a clue to what I'm going to refer to with how the DP itself is very powerful. But let's go ahead and go into training mode and look at what was going wrong with this clip and analyze what's going on, because I think this is a common frustration that newer players have. And so let's break down how you are supposed to take advantage of an anti-air and what is the goal of actually anti-airing an opponent who is constantly jumping at you. So here's the scenario set up in training mode. Basically, PDX was what I thought originally they were just doing a drill. I didn't realize they were playing a real game. Obviously, Speed Kicks was playing this game with the intention of conditioning and teaching PDX. He wasn't playing optimally to kill PDX as fast as possible. He was trying to make a point with his gameplay, you know, to help PDX practice certain fundamentals. But basically, once PDX was in this range, anytime Jury would go for the jump, he'd walk forward and crosscut over and over. Right? Which is a very useful thing to do, right? If you're at a certain ambiguous range, it can be kind of hard to DP unless you crouch and you wait really late. But there's certain angles where if you don't wait long enough, you can actually go underneath them. So at certain spacings, it's actually easier to walk under, and you can do like a half circle back motion and get the crosscut. So this is the DP it looks like PDX was going for, was this crosscut over and over, walking underneath the jump in and doing the crosscut that way. The issue is, based on the gameplay, I literally thought they were drilling, because every time PDX secured the anti-air, he held down back. He let Speed Kicks wake up every single time after securing the crosscut. He didn't approach at all on Oki. The problem with just doing an anti-air, sure, you're stopping the opponent from jumping, but yes, I do agree you're not getting much reward from it. You're only getting less than 1,000 damage in this situation here. But the main thing is, once you secure this anti-air, you need to think about what your next options are. So if we save this state right here, and we're going to have the dummy do wake up, crouch, and light punch. So now that they are recovering from the uppercut, you can see here that Jury's going to wake up, crouch, and light punch. You can then approach and meaty them, right? You have pressure from this situation right here, right? So if you let them wake up again, and you back up to the spacing, you're actually backing up to a range where they're able to threaten the jump in once more, with the risk reward being, if I land this jump in, I do half your life, and if you anti-air me, you do 1,000 damage and you get no pressure. You have to be willing to show that you're going to go for the pressure option after, for them to second guess what they're doing. Because if they suddenly have a threat of a throw incoming, or a threat of some kind of counter hit option incoming, suddenly the risk is not just that they lose 1,000 health for eating an anti-air. The risk is they could eat a lot more than that. They can start getting put into the blender, and then suddenly they have to hold a bunch of pressure and damage, and then they're going to be put to the corner, and you can convert that to more damage. You have to threaten the offensive action after, and there's a lot of ways to even do this. So the other option is, you know, they could recover backwards from the scenario as well. So from here, if you don't spend Drive Rush, it's kind of hard to get like an actual good meaty from the situation. You can maybe walk up heavy kick on reaction to get them to sit still at least. But you could always just do Drive Rush. Now, I'm not a Kami player, so I don't have this Oki ironed out, but you can put them on random wake up and then get a Drive Rush Fierce Punch that will work no matter which way they get up. You can react to the wake up, and then you can get a full combo conversion either way. So while the anti-air is very important, it's what you do after it, the positioning and offense you establish after it, that is actually the key component to the whole thing. And the other thing to consider is that the DP itself is super powerful for another reason. DPs do give you an advantage over normal anti-airs. You could also argue that in these situations, Cammy can just use back medium, and that definitely has its place. Like, you can dash in and pressure after it, and you see that was a super ambiguous cross-up. It can maybe scare people into doing a parry. So it is a very powerful tool to have, and you can go immediately for a throw, they go for a parry, and establish some kind of pressure or a shimmy, right? So having these normal anti-airs which force an air reset and make them fall in front of you for an offensive guess is very, very good to have. That there is a time and place where that might be better than a DP. But a DP has air invincibility. A big part about a DPs is that it allows you to do things like maybe you whiffed a button trying to play footsies, and then you're still able to last second anti-air. So if I whiff my low forward here, there's no way I can get out my back medium in this situation and get an actual anti-air in time, right? I get counter hit out of it. However, I can still do a DP. You can do a crouching DP, and it'll be able to actually anti-air after you whiff. Unless you get like punish countered, right? I'm trying to set up an example, something more realistic like that. And so that's the idea, right? You might get into ambiguous situations sometimes, but DPs allow you to play neutral with more control and more confidence, because you won't be put into situations where you're forced to block jump-ins if you're still on point and not punished for whiffing the normal, right? Other characters without a DP, if they do something like this, they're forced to block this jump-in. Once they do that, they have no option besides block the jump-in, or I guess the universal option. Welcome to Street Fighter 6. You can try parrying. Other characters would go for parry here, but that leaves you susceptible to empty jump into throw, for example, right? So you could potentially do that, and they'll empty jump throw you. You might get a perfect parry, and then get a punish instead. So that is one universal option to help make up for like whiffing in neutral. That is something you can do. But DP eliminates all that. It's a guaranteed option, because most characters, they can't do anything to stop the DP once it's out there, right? You don't have multiple air options. There's no air blocking. So DPs are very powerful because they enhance your control in neutral in ways that normal anti-airs do not. You can swing more in neutral. You can whiff more. You can preemptively buffer things. Like, you know, a huge part of your game plan is trying to buffer crouching medium kick into drive rush, right? So I can try that here. If it connects, I get a combo. And if I whiff it, and I'm godlike... Sorry, I'm kind of bad at crosscuts myself. It does work. Just got to not be bad. I keep doing DP with punches, by the way, if I'm an Ed player. Something like that. So I just do not agree with the narrative that anti-airs are necessarily weak. That is not to say that I think jump-ins are weak. I think jump-ins are very strong. However, you need to understand what is the utility of an anti-air. So if you land these anti-air DPs, you need to exert offense after it. Like, what is the point in anti-airing if they're just going to jump again? The point is you secure the anti-air, which means you won neutral, and you now get an advantage state. You can then approach to pressure, either do a strike throw mix or, you know, keep control on the ground and put them into a bad neutral situation to bait out another whiff, right? If you constantly anti-air players, but then back up and let them wake up again, the risk reward for the jumper is actually extremely strong because you're too scared to pressure them. So I think this is a common thing that new players get into, where they feel like they're playing the correct way. They feel like they're playing the proper Street Fighter, where they're playing very safe and solid, and they're baiting out jump-ins and anti-airing. But the correct way involves risk on offense. If you never take offensive risks, then you never get to reap the reward of any advantage state that you earn. So you need to incorporate all aspects of your gameplay to make things worthwhile. Jumping still is more reward. That's why Ryu's do it until it works, and then take 60% of your life. Okay, well, I would like you to re-listen to everything I just said, and then actually take advantage of your anti-air. So I know I can lead a horse to water. I can't make it drink. But if you get an anti-air, you knock them down. And if you can't exert your pressure after the knockdown, that's because your offense is bad and their defense was better. Or maybe this whole video is bullshit. What do I know? Listen, if that's the attitude, then once again, I have a quote for you. I don't know what else to tell you. That was my pep talk. If you still feel that there's no point, then quit. Whatever. I did my best. That's all I have for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.